In 1588, a sudden change in the wind was the only thing that saved England from a massive Spanish invasion. But what if the storm never came, and the Armada successfully conquered London? Picture the scene. The English Channel is choked with gunpowder smoke. The Protestant wind, the legendary storm that historically scattered the Spanish fleet, never blows. Instead, the skies remain clear, and the seas remain calm. The Spanish Armada, a towering crescent of 130 heavily armed warships, sails flawlessly into the English Channel. The English Navy, led by Sir Francis Drake and Lord Howard, fights valiantly. They launch fire ships, but without the chaotic winds, the Spanish captains easily maneuver their vessels out of danger. The superior Spanish galleons, bristling with heavy cannon, slowly grind down the smaller, faster English ships. For Queen Elizabeth I, the nightmare has arrived. At Tilbury, she had famously declared she had the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. But courage alone cannot stop 70,000 battle-hardened Spanish veterans. Led by the brilliant Duke of Parma, the Spanish army of Flanders lands on the shores of Kent. They march toward London with terrifying, unstoppable efficiency. The English defense, largely made up of untrained local militias, is swept aside in a series of brutal skirmishes. Within weeks, London falls. Queen Elizabeth is captured, imprisoned in the Tower, and eventually executed as a heretic. King Philip II of Spain achieves his ultimate goal. He places a Catholic monarch on the English throne, perhaps his own daughter, the Infanta Isabella. In a single stroke, the Tudor dynasty is extinguished, and England is reduced to a vassal state of the Spanish Empire. This is not just a change of crowns. It is the death of the British Empire in its cradle. In our timeline, the defeat of the Armada was the catalyst for England's rise as a global maritime superpower. It gave them the confidence to challenge Spanish dominance, leading to the colonization of North America and the creation of the largest empire in human history. But in this alternate timeline, that future is completely erased. Without a victory in 1588, England has no resources, no freedom, and no navy to explore the New World. The early attempts at colonization, like Roanoke, are forgotten failures. There is no Jamestown in 1607. There is no Mayflower sailing to Plymouth Rock in 1620. The Pilgrim Fathers never leave Europe, or if they do, they are hunted down as religious dissidents by the Spanish Inquisition, which would quickly establish its terrifying presence in London. Without English colonization, the entire map of North America is redrawn. Spain already claimed the southern half of the continent, but now, with no rivals to stop them, they push north. Spanish explorers map the Chesapeake Bay, the Hudson River, and the cold shores of New England. Instead of New Amsterdam and Boston, we would see cities named San Juan, Santa Maria, and San Augustine lining the eastern seaboard of North America. The dominant language of the continent, from the tip of Patagonia to the forests of Canada, becomes Spanish. The cultural, legal, and political foundations of the modern world are completely transformed. The English common law system, which forms the basis of modern Western democracy, never takes root in the Americas. Instead, the centralized, bureaucratic, and highly religious system of the Spanish Empire dominates. This has massive implications for global trade and wealth. In our history, the rise of the British Empire led to the Industrial Revolution, powered by British coal, capital, and global trade networks. But a Spanish-dominated world would look very different. Spain's wealth was built on silver and gold extracted from the Americas, a system that favored the aristocracy and the Catholic Church rather than industrial innovation. The global economy might have remained agrarian and feudal for centuries longer, delaying the technological leaps of the 19th and 20th centuries. Furthermore, without the British East India Company, the colonization of India never happens under British rule. Perhaps the subcontinent remains divided, or falls under the influence of the French or the Portuguese. The global trade routes of the Indian Ocean are dominated by Spanish and Portuguese galleons. Meanwhile, across the Channel, the balance of power in Europe is permanently shattered. With England secured as a Catholic ally, Spain can focus its immense wealth and military might on crushing the Dutch revolt. The Netherlands, fighting for their independence, are utterly destroyed. Protestantism in Europe is pushed to the absolute margins, surviving only in the cold, distant kingdoms of Scandinavia. The absolute rule of Catholic monarchs becomes the unquestioned norm. France and Spain, sometimes rivals, sometimes allies, dominate the European continent. The intellectual explosion of the Enlightenment, which was heavily fueled by English philosophers like John Locke and Isaac Newton, is severely stifled. Free thought is viewed as a dangerous rebellion against the Crown and the Church. So, what does the modern world look like in this reality? Imagine the 21st century. English is not the global lingua franca. It is a minor regional language spoken only in the British Isles, much like Welsh or Gaelic today. Instead, Spanish is the language of global business, science, the internet, and diplomacy. The United States as we know it does not exist. Instead, the continent is divided into various Spanish-speaking viceroyalties or independent nations that evolved from them. The global culture, from cinema to music to literature, is rooted in Hispanic traditions. All of this, because of a shift in the wind in the summer of 1588. History is not a straight line. It is a fragile web, where the smallest change can reshape the destiny of billions. If you loved exploring this alternate history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the great what-ifs of human history. What do you think the world would look like today if the Armada had succeeded? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.